This RAV4 has that stupid oil filter. The assembly screws onto the engine. You gotta unscrew it and then take the paper element out. Instead of having an actual replacement metal one that you just take off, throw away and put another one in. This often leads to problems. In this case, the customer had a problem taking it apart, used the chisel. It may have damaged some of the engine. So we're gonna go under and check it out and see what we can do. And when we go under, yeah, it's dripping oil here. And it's dripping from the stupid oil canister. So first we're going to take it off. So we need an oil drain pan to catch the crap. And we need a special tool to take it off. This is a metal one. You want a good solid metal one. And as you can see here, this is an MX2320 Motive X tool. You want metal. You don't want one of those cheap plastic tools. They will break, they will strip. Then you'll be in the trouble that he had trying to get it off. He ended up using the chisel, could have damaged stuff. So make sure you get a good metal one. And I like these long extension bars. Now it's up a little high, so I put some extensions on that too. So when I get to it, I can get a nice straight pull. As you can see when we go under, when I get my tool on, it fits right over. And now with the giant extension bar, we can easily pull on it. And when we pull on it, now it starts to come off. Now we don't want to lose traction, so what we'll do is we'll take the bottom off like that, put it over, and keep turning until we get it loose enough that we can get it off by hand. You don't want to keep taking the adjusting tool on top on and off. It's in tight, so leave that alone. Let's see if we can turn it by hand now. Yep, now we can turn it by hand. Now we'll get a rag and finish taking it off. There. Now why oh why they didn't have a regular oil filter like this instead of this BS? Well, that's what the engineers have come up with. This thing here, it's been damaged. Let's hope the inside of the engine hasn't been damaged too. So down we go, back under. And let's take a look at it. You can see a few marks here and there, but it's still pretty smooth. You can see little marks that he made here, but what we want to do is try another and see what happens, because he did chisel it a little bit here. And if we got to replace this, that is one heck of a job. Now since the inside has burrs on it, I'm going to use my little Dremel. I have these great brass wires, and they're really good for cleaning off threads and burrs. So here comes my wire on a reel. I'll just bring it over and plug it in. Now we can deburr. We want to get rid of all the little burrs that are in here. Get it on. Make it smooth again. Now I got a new cartridge assembly, and what we're basically doing is, where this ring is a sealant, that seals it, every place that touches inside, we want to make sure that's smooth. And the advantage of using this brass one is, it doesn't beat it up much, so it can make it smooth without gouging it and then making it leak even worse. I realize these ends wear out pretty fast. You're going to go through 4 or 5 of these things before you get it smooth. Which is why I have bags of the things lying around. Then we'll put the new one on. You can see the importance of the good tool. See, this says notches, look. Fits right in on the notches. This baby isn't going to come off. It'll be done right this time. You just simply screw it back on. Then when it starts to get tighter, get out the wrench you had before and finish it off with that. Wipe everything off. Make sure it's dry. Then open the hood and check the oil and add any if it's low. Then start her up and let's see if it stopped leaking. And we'll go under here and check. And what do we see? It's dry as a bone. It's not leaking now. So now we'll jack it down. And double check the oil, because you always check oil on a level surface. Now it's level. So we'll pull it out. Measure it. You can see it's low now, so we'll add some. Then we'll close the hood and take it for a spin. Always want to road test it with the pressure of a full running engine. Now we'll pull it in and recheck it. Let's look at it. Dry as a bone. It's not leaking anymore, and it's not leaking on the ground either. So now as you can see, I fixed somebody else's mistake using the right tool. You gotta have them where they have the little notches that they fit into. That's what these notches are for. It's not just the fitting here, it's the actual side notches too. get the right tool. If you do have to fix something, a little handy rotor with a deburring can often smooth out rough patches that someone's created. The gasket will now seal it. Don't get a chisel and try to chisel your old filter off on any of these ones that have the stupid canister oil filters where you replace the paper. Get the right tool. Don't try to chisel it off. You could destroy your engine. A vehicle that has strange problems. When you start it up and listen under the hood, you can hear that first metallic sound rattle you heard once the starter engaged and the engine actually started. And the other odd thing is, when you corner fast in this, sometimes the oil pressure light comes on, even though the oil level is perfectly normal at the full. So it's not low on oil. So you're gonna pull in the driveway and check it out. Now when you look under the hood, you can see this has a 1 ARFE engine. Here it is. It's a 4-cylinder engine. And if you do a little research, you'll see that the engine has been known for reliability, but it has one main problem. The variable valve timing system has a tendency to make a knocking sound on cold startups. Now you heard that first knock. Watch what happens now that it's already started up. Now the only thing you hear is a little valve rattle. It's got 130,000 miles, but you don't get that metallic on the first startup because the variable valve timing system already has oil pressure in it. It only makes that noise when you start it up cold. But I do have to say, the oil is really dirty. So I'm going to change the oil and filter, run some quality oil in it, and see what happens. So I'm going to jack it up in the air so we can change the oil. And stick a jack stand for safety. Dig in an oil drain pan. And since it's often hard to get the oil drain bolts on and off, I use a long extension bar and a socket. Then it's easier to pull them out and get them tight without wrecking anything. As you can see with the long bar, when you're pulling a long bar, it's a lot easier to get them off. Then we can get the rest by finger, and out comes the oil. And as you can see, it's really dirty. And if you don't want to have future problems, get a new gasket for the oil drain plug. These things only last so many times. They don't cost much, so buy them before you change your oil. Then you're not hunting around to find one. And if you only have one car, you can't drive it, so buy a package. I buy these on Amazon. I buy packages like 10. Then I got 10 of them, and I know I'm never gonna have to worry about having a problem with them leaking or stripping because it's got a nice new gasket each time and they don't cost much. Now when you do put it back on, this is where the giant extension works best, because once you get it on, you can easily, at the other end, push it so it's nice and snug. It won't be too tight, but it'll be tight and it won't leak. Now you gotta change the filter too, but unfortunately, this is one of these swine designed paper ones where there's a plastic container that hides inside. You have to have one of these metal tools to get it off. It fits on and gets it off. Do not buy one of those plastic tools. They're crap, they'll break. Get a metal one like this. This particular one is a VIM, V-I-M, solid metal. Look at that. This is not cheap. It will last. As you can see here, snaps right on, nice and tight. Then again, we're going to use our extension bar because these things can be hellacious pulling them off. As you can see, now it's turning, it'll come off. And down comes the whole assembly, which will take off. Then you get the new filter, and it just goes inside. Pushes right in, and there's an O-ring here. You replace the O-ring. Luckily, the SDP oil filter, the kit comes with a new ring. Just get a little pick, slide it under, get the old one off, and then slide the new one on. It goes on the last groove. Get a little bit of the old oil and push it around so it slides on nice and doesn't stick. Then it just spins on, and get your little socket. Keep turning till it gets snug. Now it's tight and it won't leak. And now we're going to fill it up with oil. It takes about 4.6 quarts of oil. Pour it in slowly because these Toyotas don't take oil fast. They have baffle plates, and if you pour it too fast, you're going to get oil all over the exhaust and it's going to smolder. Now I love these giant jugs because they got a little clear part. And since we're putting in 4.6, it'll be a little less than half a quart left. So we'll do it till it gets down to here. A little bit more. Then we'll start it up and check it. But whatever you do, don't forget to put the cap back on. I've had people leave the cap off. Oil gets everywhere, can ruin stuff. Make sure you put the cap back on. And don't forget to get rid of the jack stand, because if you drop it with a jack stand, you might bend something. Now we can let it down. And we'll start her up. warm up about 5 minutes. And if you notice, compared to what it was doing before, the overall engine is somewhat quieter too. You don't hear the valves clacking as much. It's quieter than it was. This is why you have to keep beating people over the head to change your oil regularly. You don't want to ruin a great engine like this by having dirty oil, running low on oil. I had a customer a few months ago, bought me a Toyota Camry, had the same engine, sounded like it was falling apart. She only had half a quart of oil left. And she said, well, I had it changed 6 months ago. I said, did you ever check it? She said, no. Her car had 140,000 miles. It was burning a little oil. She never checked it. So please, change it regularly. Me, in this particular vehicle, I change it every 5,000 miles with normal stop and go city driving. You don't want to ruin this beautifully designed 2.7 liter 4-cylinder engine because the oil is either too dirty or it gets low. Then once you shut it off, wait about a minute, pull out the dipstick and check it. In this case, it still needs a little bit more. You can't always go by the specifications that a computer gives. That's why you check it. So we're going to put the rest of the total 5 quarts in. Then turn it off and wait another minute for it to drain and check it again. And now it's perfect. It's on the second dot, which is full. Between the top dot and the bottom dot is 1 quart. Now it's full. And this is another reason you want to double check your work. I've seen them off sometimes as much as a couple of quarts. The dipstick works correctly. Always go by the dipstick reading on level ground after you warm it up, and then shut it off and let it sit for a minute or two so the oil drains down, you get the correct reading. Now take it for a spin. And it's running quite smoothly, and lo and behold, a lot of that noise is gone. You can hear a tiny bit of valve, but hey, that's normal for a car with over 100,000 miles. Let's look under here. We're cornering. The oil light is not coming on like it was before. So now you know how to fix and maintain a well-built engine that happens to be making some odd noises you didn't hear before. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.